Hello, and welcome to the Psycho Studios podcast, which is now, this is the 14th episode. No, just kidding. I really do know that. And we're going to be reviewing Speak No Evil on this episode 14. And the scale on this one is going to be very hard for me, to go through. But just before that, I would like to just say thank you for the more viewership and looking forward to pushing out some more videos, not just on just reviews of movies, which is going to be exciting, interviews of friends and family, possibly. And I just want you guys to please like and subscribe moving forward, and that's all I ask. So thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome to the Psycho Studios podcast. Yeah.
All right, so how about you give us your rating, seeing as how we watched the movie together yesterday.
We did.
We didn't tell each other the score. That's the first time we've ever done that. So how about you tell me, and this is going to be my shot face because it's the first time that we're doing something like that.
Well, and I know you want me to reel in, but I was like, it was so funny coming out of the movie and I couldn't talk to you about it. It was like, I was jonesing to share about the movie because that's what we typically do, right? That's the fun of movies. So I did a good job. I hope I get a gold star for being quiet about that. And on the Psycho Studios scale of 1 to Psycho,
right,
I'm going to go a 7.
A 7.
A 7.
Okay, that actually completely shocks me.
Oh boy, I can't wait.
I was teetering on a 5.
Really?
Or a 6.
Okay.
So I did land on, after watching the original from 2022, which is Speak No Evil. It's technically a remake, reimagined.
It is, yeah.
And so I definitely, especially after watching the original, because I watched this one before I watched the original, and I'm going to give it a 6, especially now the context of seeing the original.
Sure. Are you going to give the score for the original, or do we wait?
Well, seeing so, we're just giving the scores off real quick, but the main focus is definitely on this new one.
It is.
But the score of the original, especially, it's so hard. It should have watched the original first.
It is, right? It is.
But I definitely give it a 3.
Okay, all right.
Because the source material was there, and you could definitely see what they used, and some parts were almost verbatim, but then it was, if you watch the original, you're like, oh, I know what's going to happen, but then they change it. So I guess that was the good part about that. But for you, what would you give the rating of the original?
Well, for the rating, I'm going to give it a 5.
Okay.
And I did kind of like the cadence that we did. It's unusual,
right,
but to see the U.S. version, right, let's call it that,
right,
2024, Speak No Evil, but then to find out that it was actually based on that, is it Dutch?
Danish. Yeah.
Danish version from 2022.
Right.
It was interesting to watch it in inverse order. And I think part of my scoring with the 5 and even the 7, you're like, whoa, a 7?
Yeah.
It's because we're coming out of Alien Romulus. I'm sorry, that movie was way more entertaining than that was.
No, but that goes to show it's a little bit above average, at least for me. But I mean, you can see, like, why did Alien Romulus need that 80 million? Right?
It's hard. We were talking about that on the way to the theater, right? And to see a matinee at 2 p.m. on a Thursday, right. I was surprised that those tickets were available, as you were.
Right.
Wait, I thought we couldn't see that. Even if it was early, it wouldn't be until the evening.
Right.
And to see a matinee with you and there's nobody in there, it was beautiful. That alone was just amazing to me. But you're right. You think 80 million. Could we get a little chunk of that? And not put so much into Alien Romulus when you see a movie like this that cost, what are you showing? 15 million is the budget for the U.S. version?
That's what it looked like, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, where does that money go?
Right, that's the thing.
And I still, we love acting. As much as we love horror and that, but we love acting. It kind of can get lost in the shuffle there when you think about two guys that love horror movies. Well, they can't possibly be in depth. We are.
Right.
And I think that's what turned me on so much about the movie is I love acting. Good acting.
Right. So, let's, we'll talk about Speak No Evil, and it's definitely spoilers.
Yeah, spoiler alert for sure.
But I gotta say, like, that the story overall wasn't that bad. But I just felt like, it was nothing like new. I just felt like that we definitely seen stuff like this before, and it definitely where it was setting, the scenery and all that really reminded me of Hostel, even though definitely not the same thing at all. But like a family on vacation, and the family's not, doing well together, and then that's all they need is to see a happy couple.
And they gravitate toward them.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
And so you can see from the get-go something's off, and they're way too friendly, more than a lot of the other people. And the nervous energy I got immediately was when their younger daughter, I think she's about to be 12 years old, is going to get on the motorcycle with that couple.
The scooter.
Yes, sorry, the scooter.
Yeah.
The couple they have a young boy themselves that can't speak because he's got a short
tongue. Yes.
Yes.
Thanks for helping me with that piece.
For some reason, you wanted me to remind him.
Well, James
about that.
McAvoy, it was hard for me to get his dialect all the time or his accent.
Well, that I believe that's his real accent in real life, right? So he does have an accent.
Sure.
And so, anyways, it just from that moment on, at least he stole the show.
He rocks that movie. He rocks it.
Almost anything that I've ever seen of him, I gotta say, like, he's the one that, like, you're like, yeah, and he plays a very good creepy guy.
Well, you can't take your eyes off the screen, and I'm not saying he is Christian Bale, but that's what it reminded me of. When I see Christian Bale on the screen, I can't take my eyes off him. And James McAvoy, is that how you say it?
I think so.
It just he blew my mind. Like, I can't wait to watch it again, even if I'm giving it a lower score, than a 10.
Yeah.
It's just he really was amazing in that role.
Yeah, totally. So, going forward in the movie, right? they have a long dinner and friendship building, and then they go on their separate ways. And this is really where the two movies, the remake and the original, kind of differ, and why they're not getting along. I think it's good, and I think this makes it more grounded with the family in that. Like, you want to care about them more because you start to learn about their tension and
sure, you got to care about the families, or you're not even going to be interested.
Right. But I know the original one was heavy about the doll and that, her bunny that she leaves behind. And Hoppy. But that is just too silly for me. Like, they would care that much, right?
Well, and that they would allow it to go on that long. If you said she's probably 12, maybe going on 13. I don't know exactly. But
in the movie, I believe they said.
They do say it? Okay. But just the fact that they would let that go on.
Right.
That she would be so tied to that, they should have broken that chain a long time ago.
Well, you can just see all together, they're all, not to be mean, but it just seems like they're written to be really soft, and that they don't really want to involve themselves in making anyone unhappy.
Yeah, it's classic. They think they're great parents, but they're not.
Right. So, but, they get a postcard with their pictures on it, all of them together, and then they drive.
Well, it's an invite, right?
Right.
Yeah.
They drive to their really far away farmhouse, which is really... the scenery and where they are is just so beautiful, and the isolation, especially because I think they did a really excellent job of showing how far away and nowhere that they were.
The distance, right? They were remote.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. But can I ask you about cinematography? Because we love cinematography, right? It's just one of those things that really hits both of us. And as beautiful as that scenery was, I didn't think the cinematography captured it as well as it could have. Maybe that's just me.
I thought the point was, with at least the shots that I was viewing, it's very... everything's like stilted and very short. So I think it was part to make everything more feel like it's tight cornered and there's like really not escape. At least that's what I was
makes sense, because I was thinking of that countryside and that I wanted it to be more expansive.
Right.
But you're right. That was probably what the director was thinking, keeping it more boxed in.
Well, shortly after they arrive, and it's the next day, and they go on like a hike, and then they jump off a cliff. Even that, the area all seems wide open in that, but I think they're doing a really good job of making it still seem like it's such a small area.
Well, and I like that. That's the thing about movies, right? You can't be right or wrong. It's how it makes you feel.
Right, totally.
And I love to hear your perspective, and I love the fact that we're doing it like this, really raw. We didn't share anything in advance. But that was what took me back is, hey, what about the cinematography? But now that you say that, it makes sense. The director was probably trying to pen that visually.
Right, for sure. And a lot of movies don't do this, and I feel like I really like it when movies do this, so that's why I give it a higher score, 6.
Okay, all right.
Is like they give you like hints throughout the movie or like a callback. Like there's a reason. That's my favorite thing about movies that are written pretty well. There's a reason for it. It's just not a side story. It's not just, oh, they're just saying that for filler. Like there's a whole reason why she can't, live without her bunny, and they make sure it's how important it is right away.
Sure.
And then it comes back later
Well,
in the film.
they even show
right?
the app and the phone, right?
Right, it's
breathe
the breathing
in,
app.
Yeah, exactly.
So it just, there's little things spread out the entire movie, but I think that's my favorite thing is like, how's that? I kept on thinking to myself, how's that going to work into the movie
Like
somehow?
these little breadcrumbs.
Because you could feel it's that type of movie.
Sure. Can I ask you something? And I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but you talked about the build-up, right? And the different films that might have elements of this. For me, and I know I'm going way back, but the origin of this film to me still seems like it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like it's this family, and they're gathering these trinkets of the families that they've impacted. And I know you mentioned other films, but to me, I couldn't help but shoot right back to that. It was like, it hit me like a lightning bolt.
And I don't think that they're keeping their belongings besides like the watches that he's keeping, because I feel like maybe he thinks that's like a trophy or something, but I think he's keeping them because they're really expensive watches, and he wants to feel part of that class or fit in when he's going out to meet these families.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they had that room later on in the movie where it's like a safe room.
Sure.
But I feel like that's their way of making sure that stuff doesn't get out anywhere.
Got it.
Protecting. I don't know necessarily. Maybe in a sick way, it's possible. I mean, that's up for you to feel, not me. But I didn't feel Texas Chainsaw Massacre at all.
Got it. Okay,
because
I'll keep that to myself.
Because they weren't, they weren't killing them to eat them or for that kind of joy in that. It was just, again, I don't really want to jump into the end yet. But
it's not.
Anyways, so let's just say that they seem like they're getting along, but then there's signs here and there like why is he acting like that? Or she seems off, the wife or girlfriend. It's not really sure if they are married, but it seems like that they are.
You mean as far as James McAvoy and his significant other?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, they don't really tell us, do they?
Right. And the bunch of things that they say don't add up, but I think it's purposely led to you not to and then is the other family catching on to that? Sometimes it looks like that they are, but then they basically shrug it off. And so I think that was good to keep you on your toes.
Did you feel that the relationship between James McAvoy and his significant other plus their child, the boy, was awkward right from the get-go?
Yes, but I definitely feel like that was intentional.
Sure.
Totally.
Yeah.
But then there's a night, for some reason, that their daughter, not the estranged family that they're staying with.
Right, the English couple or American couple per se.
Right.
Okay.
The wife goes in and checks on her daughter, and her daughter is not in the room with the boy.
Can we at least mention the fact that it's a huge English farmhouse, and she's having to sleep in the same room as their son? And it's just this, I don't know what that was. It was like a blanket or something on the floor. I don't know why that seemed so funny to me.
I think that was all supposed to make uneasiness, right?
Okay,
Uncomfortable.
all right. Got it.
Right? Because there's no way they could have done something. Same with there being the sheets for that family, dirty.
Dirty, yes. That was pretty gross.
And of course the husband's downplaying.
Right, he's fine. This is an old stain.
Right.
I never even heard of somebody use that term, old stain.
It's so funny enough I have, so.
Nice. We
It
won't
wasn't
go down
a
it.
car.
Okay, great.
No, it's been there.
Okay, what kind of car?
It was a Cutlass.
Of course it was.
Yeah.
A Cutlass. Our audience, a lot of them probably don't even know what an Oldsmobile Cutlass was.
Yeah, I was gonna say they probably don't even know Oldsmobile was a vehicle.
Yes, it was. All right, sorry.
It's all good.
So yeah, so that part was interesting to me. That contrast of it's this huge English farmhouse, right? Would you agree? It seems they're giving us an idea of it being big.
Well, they show like the coops to the house, but they don't really show the proper that much. Again, that's why I'm really feeling like they were trying to just
Keep it.
because the camera didn't really ever really go wide.
No, it didn't. I think that's what threw me about the cinematography.
But I think that I can't speak for the director or the cinematographer.
Sure.
But I gotta tell you, from me, especially having that kind of mentality, that mindset, when you make a movie, like there's a certain direction and you know it, and
Sure.
I really feel like that's what they were. I think they nailed that.
Yeah.
And so maybe it sounds like that wasn't quite for you.
Only because I love expansive cinematography, even if it's a small film. But now that you said that, and that's the beauty of us sharing our opinions like this, is that okay, now I can't wait to watch it again with that perspective.
Right.
And I think maybe, I don't know if that's the average film goer, but for people like us that love film, bouncing this stuff off, and that's why it was so hard for me to sit on my hands and my tongue on the way home, because I wanted it. Can I just talk a snippet? He's like, no, we're going to keep it fresh, which I like. This makes sense, but that's the beauty of film. That's the beauty of it.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Anyways, towards major spoilers, towards the end, the boy has been constantly trying to show the daughter that there's something wrong with that family, and I mean, from the get-go, even without seeing the original, that I knew that boy didn't belong, right?
Well, can we at least mention the dancing scene?
Well, okay.
We got to mention that. That's so unbelievable to me.
Right. It's definitely, to see any kind of abuse to kids is pretty. It's rough to see.
It's hard to watch.
But there's a dancing scene. I guess they have been reciting a dance together.
Well, and they're using country music, right?
Country music, and they're dressed up like cowboys.
Which is a contrast from the original, where they use a pop song in the original.
Right, but they're still dressed up kind of like cowboys.
They are, but they're in the original. They're shooting it inside the home.
Right. Again, so many differences. But without going on a tangent with the other one, this one really cleans up and makes it more understandable or like
Agreed.
logical.
Agreed. Yeah, logical. Good word.
And so, for the son, I think is doing it on purpose. I do.
You do? That's your take on it? Is he's intentionally not doing it right?
Right. He's offbeat, and the father can't stand it. So he's stopping the music and yelling at his father and getting angry.
He's angry as hell over something as simple as a little dance outside.
And you can tell they've all been drinking. He's really intoxicated, but I think for sure that was purposely, but also he had gone off the rails maybe too much that he didn't even want to himself.
It almost seemed to me like he was using alcohol as an excuse.
Right.
When he knew damn well that's just him.
Right.
That's him as a person.
Right. And so he just gets angrier and angrier.
Just over the fact that his son isn't necessarily keeping time with the girl.
Right. And so he finally, I don't know what he throws on a piece of
What is it
food
that he
or
throws at
something.
him? I wasn't sure either.
I almost wanted to like stop the movie and play it back. But
Okay, projectionist, can you please stop the movie? But he does. He throws something at the boy over a simple dance on a sunny day outside with this couple that they've invited to their home.
Right. But I just, again, like I told you, I like that they brought gifts for that family when we first got there. And one of them was a football. And you think nothing of it, like they talk about it
American
a little bit.
football, right?
American football,
Yeah.
right. And they, it's crucial to the story, though. That's
It is.
the thing.
Think about how when they're playing catch and how that leads to that, right?
Right, exactly. But that young boy, and again, nothing wrong with child actors or anything like that. Trust me, I think it would be very difficult for even actors for a long time acting to act as well as that child did.
It blew me away.
Supernatural on the screen, and did he have to speak really? No,
No,
not at all,
but
'cause
how hard was it maybe not to speak?
Right, exactly. But his performance of pantomiming and trying to speak and the lack thereof, but
trying to show the concern or the danger in his eyes. You're right. James McAvoy stole the movie.
right,
I thought the cast was great.
totally,
And you know how I am about child actors. And
Yeah.
I don't mean to be hard on them, but typically they don't deliver.
right, totally,
And that boy and the girl as well.
right,
Wow.
yeah, totally.
Wow. Yeah.
But he keeps on throwing, to go back to that, he was throwing the football and he kept on overthrowing it to the daughter.
The little boy was, right?
Right.
To the daughter. Yeah.
And he was overthrowing on purpose, leading her over to where he wanted to show her.
Was it like a storage shed or something?
It was like, I think like the chicken coop.
Chicken coop. Okay, got it.
And it
Which
all
was locked, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That he had stole the key. And it's so perfect that he had stolen the key while his father, as we find out, is for sure not his father. But
He's passed out and sweaty, right?
Right.
Like he's out.
and he stole his keys, and he knew he was gonna have to give it back to him. So when they leave the barn, and he shows her pictures and photos of all the families.
And that
Seems
did,
like quite
that
a
did
bit.
remind you of. No,
Not at
okay. All right, got it.
And-
so right, he's showing the pictures of multiple families,
And then
including his,
family,
right?
Right. And it takes her a little bit to comprehend, which makes sense totally. 'cause
Right, she's like,
she's in shock.
Whoa,
I
yeah,
think.
totally. What's he showing me?
And then she, freely grasped it. And again, so brilliant how he had like, they showed, even with her, showed her, there's no signal, but she was on her phone. Maybe she was doing that breathing exercise. Who knows, right? But they showed briefly that she had her phone, and then the kid like tells her to bring her phone out without saying it, and she takes us the pictures, right?
Right, she's taking the pictures of the families, right?
Right, to show her family.
And now it's sinking into her, right?
Right. But I think that one of my favorite tense scenes was him having to give the key back.
Oh.
Right? And
So let's at least wrap that part up, right? They get out of that coop area,
right.
right? And he's locks it back down. But now he's got to get that key back to his dad so he doesn't know it, right?
Right, that's what I was just saying.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I get it. I just
So-
wanted to make sure we were clear on that because it is an amazing scene.
Right. And he goes in there, his dad's off the bed where he was sleeping. He's already shocked. He's like, "Oh, I'm screwed now."
I thought he was screwed.
But the dad like nonchalantly, like kind of like yawning, closes the door behind him, and then finally we get to see him like treat him like how he normally treats him, right?
Whew.
And he says something again. I talking about this make me feel better about the movie in general, but
Interesting.
he basically alludes like something's off, but then he clarifies, no, just show me love, right?
Yeah, he craves like
The compassion from the
unconditional
kid.
love and compassion, right? And it's so awkward.
And then so earlier on in the movie, the fake father, asked him for a piggyback ride, and he wouldn't get on.
The beautiful call out.
And then so
The piggyback, yeah.
he needed to get the key on, but when he was showing him love, his arms are way too short to wrap. You could see he could kind of try, but there was no way.
Yeah,
he
he's
was gonna be
hugging
able
him,
to.
but yeah, right, he's not going to reach that.
So he figures out a way. Again, I think that brilliant that he gets him to like, okay, piggyback ride, and then
In one fell swoop, right?
he doesn't think anything of it, but his keys start dangling. He hears it, and again, another great detail, attention to detail, right? That he puts the keys in his pocket because he heard them rattling, but he was unaware that anything was
You could
awry.
tell there wasn't even a hiccup.
Right.
He was perfectly. I think that might be one of the best scenes in the whole movie.
Right.
Because you have that anticipation. You
Right.
know how crazy the dad is. And is this going to go completely sideways? And the kid is so smooth. Just showing his intelligence.
Right.
And then let's talk about the actor. Like that little boy, he kicked ass.
Totally. And I really think if he hadn't got the keys correctly, I think that kid would have been killed, and everyone else would have been killed a lot sooner.
Well, and that's what my worry was, is that the dad would find out right then and there, and it would change the whole trajectory. So, and I was we're really sticklers for things making sense.
Right.
And that might sound silly, but it is true. That's what we really strive for is, can it just make sense to us?
Right.
And when he revisited the piggyback, and it was so smooth. I wonder how many times they had to practice that, unless the kid just nailed it. But it was so smooth that it made sense. The dad never felt it.
Right.
I love smartness in a film.
Totally. And just to talk about towards the end of the movie now, because that was basically where the turning point is. And so the family is now all aware that they're definitely in big trouble.
The English family, yeah, they know it.
Because
right?
the daughter showed them the pictures.
Red alert. Yeah.
And so they're leaving. And so you're like, you know that they're not going to just let them leave, right? And so it's so beautiful because you think, so of course there's a flat tire. They're like, well, we'll just act like that the flat tire is fine and they're just going to leave. But that's crazy.
They go outside. It's a Tesla, right?
Right.
And the driver's side rear tire is completely flat, and they're going to just ignore it.
Right. And then they're going to do that. But then, of course, the awful father, the killer that we definitely know that he is,
the psychopath,
he's like, oh no. And like he's not holding anything back anymore, but so that's what causes the intenseness of the movie is so the other dad goes with him into the workshop.
Yeah, hey, come with me, we need some tools.
Yeah. And again, it's so you're like, is he gonna get him there, what's gonna happen? But he goes back to the tire with him and they fix the tire and everything's fine. You're like, why is this like this?
No, that's another beautiful scene. It really is.
And then he turns to the bad father. I'll just say, not the good father.
Okay,
the
bad and good father.
Bad father looks to their daughter, right? And he says, "Are you sure you have everything?" And of course, like you knew exactly where that was leading, right?
No, and the delivery of that line, it's so perfect. It was very smooth. I think I won't jump to my score again, but these are some of the elements that made me enjoy the movie so much.
Right. And so,
is it Hoppy?
Hoppy is in a gutter, and he reminds. Oh, they
and
were
how
just
high
cleaned.
up is he?
And you can see his disheveled, right?
Right, but how high up? Let's tell the audience, right? It's like really high up.
Incredibly high. 2 stories, I would say.
Easily.
Right?
This
But
old farmhouse.
It's a good thing the bad dad's got a ladder, right? And,
At the ready, I've got a ladder.
but he's like, I'm not going to go up there.
No, you're taller than me.
Yeah.
You can reach.
So he has him go up there, and I don't know what happened, if he really did lose gripping of it, but he shifted the ladder a little bit. And of course, that
shakes it a little.
It's that fake out, right? Where you think, well, of course, there's got to be that. But then at the end there, it wasn't even because of him doing anything with the ladder. It's because of how scary and high up it was to get to that
and that
bunny.
ladder doesn't look like it was anything bought at Lowe's with some sort of guarantee.
Wooden ladder, right?
Yeah, old school wooden ladder that you might have seen back in the day, right? In the Pilgrim times.
So he's shaking, almost slipping on top of there, but he comes down, he drops the bunny down and then is unscathed. So you're like, what is actually going on here? Like, but I know I didn't to go frame by frame of the movie would be just insane.
No, it would take us 150 minutes.
But just to reflect, they were hunting the good and bad dad together.
Previously, right? A fox?
A fox.
Yep.
And then the good dad can't pull the trigger.
No, I can't do it.
But the bad dad looks to him and talks to him. Well, it's never been about the kill, right?
What's it about?
It's all about the pregame, right? It's about the hunt of
Yeah, absolutely. Good call out. Yeah.
And so you knew for sure with him saying that, then it's all about this. So
I still can't believe nothing happened to him when he was on the ladder. They got me there.
I thought he would have fell like he does at the last act of the movie.
Sure.
And like hurt himself. But
something.
He'd been like, it's fine.
Right, sprained an ankle or something,
off.
Right? Yeah.
But they drive off but they ask the son to please open the gate, and because they definitely want to get that kid out of there.
Right, they want to take the boy with them.
And it's
a metal entryway, right? That's remote controlled.
You can tell it's heavy. It's
heavy.
There's no way
hell.
they're gonna.
Yeah.
Because you're like, just drive through it. No, but they thought about this, right?
They did.
And so they're driving, and then he tells his boy to stop, and he's like, no need. He pulls out a remote, which opens the gate.
And they think they're home free.
Right, and they're almost about to cross through that threshold, right?
And in the rear view mirror, the dad,
just
what does he see?
shoves as hard as possible. That early on in the movie, they're all jumping into that lake.
And we know the boy can't swim.
Can't swim.
Yep.
And he shoves him into the, like, there's a little pond that's deep.
McAvoy's, yeah, deep pond.
And the child is just so screwed. And then what do you do in that situation? Save your whole family, or that poor innocent boy that you know he's already gone through hell? And so the father, I mean,
the good father,
you could totally tell he's really, this has really changed him for the better.
Totally,
too.
right? That is an epiphany for him.
Right.
There's no two ways about it.
So he just tells his family, just go, drive off, and he's gonna do what he can about that kid. And wow, he has to go in there and save him, and then he of course closes the gate on them, and they're not getting away.
No, they're not.
Right?
Nope.
And so, oh man.
Can I at least ask you, is that what you would do? Would you go back to save that boy, or would you get your family out?
But I would demand that they run. Like,
Got
they
it.
would have to. Like, I don't care how much you care about me and that. I'm
Get
doing
out of
this
the
for
car
them.
even and jump over the fence.
No, right. Yeah. Just I would totally go back and save the kid.
You would. That's good to
You
hear.
would have to.
That's good to hear. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not just playing that for the camera. It would be so indecent that the horrible things he'd gone through if you didn't at least try.
Yeah.
So they all get captured, right? And so, but
They bring him back to the farmhouse.
Right.
Yep.
And force them to transfer all their money. It's like $200,000.
Oh my God! Yes, that's a horrible scene where they're in that enclosed room.
Yep.
And they're all together. And do they have the guns out at that point?
Oh yeah.
So they got guns out, and you're right. They still, even though this is this English farmhouse, which is old as hell, right? Who even knows? And they're in the middle of nowhere. They still bring technology back into the scene with the phone and the banking amounts.
Right.
I love that juxtaposition where it's old, but they're using technology.
Yeah.
God, you're helping me with my score.
But it's just that scene and then the tenseness of it, but then they are able to catch them off guard. And then you think that the bad guys are screwed because now they've been locked in. But the guy that they had dinner with the other day comes in to save
wasn't his
their
name
day.
Mike?
Yes.
Oh, Mike! It's a disservice to all Mikes out there, right? Because he runs this. Who knows what the hell he's running? But it's supposedly this very personal restaurant.
Yep.
Right, where it's you probably know the term, but it's like chef to table. Like
Right.
he's just making an intimate meal for just them.
Yep.
Did you think at the time when you saw that scene in the restaurant that he was a bad guy?
Oh yeah.
Really? You got me there. I didn't know he was the bad guy.
The babysitter to him, there's no way that they're in the middle
In
of nowhere.
cahoots?
Right?
Yeah.
And you could tell, it just
No, you
makes
got
sense.
me. I was so enamored with the food that I didn't think that guy was the bad guy. So you got me, Mykal.
So they are having to not go out the gate or anything like that because that guy comes out of nowhere. So they trap themselves inside, right? And they're basically screwed. What can they do?
Well, because it's the English husband, wife, and then the daughter, right?
Right.
And I was lost at that point when they locked themselves in the room.
And the boy.
Right, and then they have the boy, which I'm sorry I don't remember the name of the character, but
I'm bad at, especially
like
just at seeing the
Aiken
movie.
or something. It was really interesting, right? It was
Right.
different. So
But-
you got them trapped in that room.
And so they are able to work themselves by taking care of Mike, right? And then the wife they're going to escape on the roof because the ladder is still there from earlier with the bunny. And so you knew when they were showing the cinematography and the slippage and stuff, you knew all that stuff was going to come into play.
Sure, the slippage of the roof, right?
Right.
Those roofs are so sloped, and they have those slippery tiles.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the wife falls and dies. And then...
The bad guy's wife.
Right.
Right.
And so all that's left is the main bad dad. And oh man, I think it wraps up beautifully, especially now seeing the 2022 version. So what happens to the bad dad at the end?
Well, yeah, because we see her, like the good mom, for lack of a better term, she puts on these plastic or rubber gloves, and she gets that caustic acid some sort of cleaning or drain material.
Right.
And then she throws it on him, right? And it incapacitates him. But you can just see, it's interesting to me that it clearly the good wife or good mom, she is stronger than her husband.
Right.
Is that the interpretation you got?
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah. And so she takes him out with that, but he is still coming back, right? He's like the Terminator at that point. He's just going to keep coming back.
Right. It was just painful, and it was just he was washing it off. That's where they left him.
Yep, in
and
the
he
shower.
He was going to come back, and then
Yep.
definitely when he heard that sound of, he didn't know what, but he found out it was his wife, and he has a gun.
Right, he's back on the ground, and they're all back on the ground now, right?
Right.
The little boy, the daughter, the husband, and the wife, the good ones.
And so the daughter goes ahead and unfortunately meets up with the bad dad, and she's at gunpoint. And
yeah, he's holding the gun to her head, right?
Right, and they're just, now I know that the ending is going to be bad, right? And she's going to just die, rest with them.
Really? You felt that? Yeah.
But I did, because I do pay attention. In the beginning of the scuffle, when they had all been in that chamber, when they were transferring that money, and they had, again, it was so busy, so that's why it was perfect.
But what did she have?
So, in the beginning, he was going to get doped up.
A hypodermic needle, right?
He had a needle that was going to dope them up so it would be less painful and
sedate.
They wouldn't have to fight back.
Sure.
And she still grabbed and held on that needle. So
Beautiful.
out of nowhere, she stabs him with that needle and, of course, catches it. Because who would have thought that? And if you weren't paying attention or forgot about that, that totally, once again, catches you off guard.
It's a great grab, right?
Yeah. Circle.
But it made sense.
Right.
That's the beauty of a lot of this.
Right. No, it just makes sense. And so it's not like where most movies would have had showed that rolled.
Sure.
And she grabbed it.
Yep.
But they didn't show who grabbed it, but if you looked closely and paying attention, you knew who grabbed it.
It was plausible that she grabbed it.
Right.
Yep.
And instead of it just out of nowhere, she stabbed him, right?
Yep.
So, again, he's down there. And man, I gotta say, what really turned my stomach and I didn't see coming, of course, I knew that the little boy had gone through so much, but they were just gonna all leave and him just be sedated.
Right, he's just laying there incapacitated. Yep.
And so it just, the boy hesitates about leaving in general.
And he comes back.
He comes back and he just, I think it was like a giant rock.
Yeah, big, like a cobblestone almost that you would see on an English farm.
Right. And just...
He's straddling his bad dad, his fake dad, and he puts the rock up over his head.
His head's gone.
And he, like, it's what, at least a dozen passes?
At least, if not more.
Very violent. But they kept it subdued from the standpoint that you didn't get a lot of blood splatter or anything, right? So it was mild as a scene like that can be.
Right. And it was dark.
Dark. Good call.
The lighting was perfect.
Yep.
And so, thankfully, they're all okay and able to drive off all the good people.
Right. The English father, mother, daughter, and then that boy who had suffered unbelievable terrors, right?
And I can only hope, because they were trying early in the story to try to have a kid.
They were.
Another one.
Right, and there was infidelity got in the way, and right, all those things, right?
And
so your thought was maybe they were going to...
Hopefully they keep the kid, because they've already been through all that, and that keeps them together.
Yeah.
So that's, the gist of the movie.
End scene.
And talk about it more, it makes me almost want to raise the score, but
justification.
But I just don't think that it's maybe a 6.5.
Okay.
But that it still leaps and bounds, at least to me. I really wanted Alien Romulus to be great.
Oh, we both did. We always want movies to be good.
But I gotta say, this is definitely, talk about it more, and the dialogue and the things referenced and full circle are just perfect.
Well, and I still will go back to calling out the child actors.
Right.
That's usually a shortcoming for me. It's something I'm acutely aware of, and they were both really good, especially in roles that were so challenging.
Right. No.
So, kudos to that director, James Watkins, I believe his name is.
That's right. Yep.
And the interesting thing about James, I'm just going to say this. I know Mykal wants me to reel in my tidbits, but he directed a film in 2008, quite a long time ago.
Yep.
Other movies as well, but it was called Eden Lake, and I caught that little horror gem. And if you watch Eden Lake and then you watch this,
Yeah.
You can see those threads of how he is gritty. So I really appreciated that 16 years later,
Right.
he's still kicking ass.
Well, it'll be interested to see what else those actors and actresses do from this, and then what the director does. I'm always, I try to give faith in all that.
Sure.
And I'm excited to see what's next. Even though this was a remake or reimagine, I think it had its place and there was a reason for it, definitely. And I'm thankful that it was there and got to be able to do this. So
Absolutely.
change my score to 6.5.
6.5.
Okay.
All right, I'm holding strong at a strong 7. And for me, a 7 is a really good film.
It is.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I just want to say one thing, because I won't sleep tonight if I don't get this out. But when you compare the two movies, the biggest thing to me is 75% of the movie from, you said it was Danish, right?
Yes.
2022 was 75% of this English or Americanized version was very similar.
It was.
And then you take the last 25% and the contrast with what so many foreign films, especially if we talk about the across the pond. I mean, I challenge our audience to watch both, because wow, when you see how that movie turns and what they did with the Americanized version, that other version won't play in America.
Right.
So love the film, love the energy.
So I just want to say, everyone, thank you for watching.
Absolutely.
And please comment and let us know what you thought about this most current one, and if you've watched the original, like, which one do you like more? I think that's what I would really like to hear.
Come on, I want to know anybody who watched the original besides Mykal and I. Come on.
Okay, definitely. So again, thank you so much, and remember, stay psycho.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody.